Hey, entrepreneurs, are you trying to make bigger profits in your small business? If you're like most of us business owners, increasing your profitability is always on your mind. And you're probably looking for ways to grow your revenue while growing your company. Well, you found a podcast that shares ideas to help you do just that. I'm Marcia Reiner. I'm a business growth strategist. I've helped tons of small business owners to establish and implement a tangible plan that guarantees increased profitability, guides your growth, and plans for your future exit. Because building a highly profitable and sale-ready business creates a win-win scenario. That's more money now and a windfall later when it's time to let go. And I want to share strategies that I've learned with you on today's Profit with a Plan podcast. But before we get started, I've got some exciting news to share. I've launched a super powerful training called the 30-Day Profit Booster. This is where I show you how you can boost your profits by 45% in just 30 days, just by following a simple 3-step method that doesn't require you chasing more customers. This quick and easy profit boosting strategy can be done without spending additional money on marketing, hiring more staff, or working longer hours. Go check it out for free at 30dayprofitbooster.com. All right, listeners, you have a treat in store for you. So Matthew Davis is an attorney and entrepreneur, led his solely owned firm, Davis Business Law, through over this, get this, 1,000% growth over 7 years, making it one of the very rare law firms ever to make the Inc. 5000 list, 2 years in a row and counting. The firm currently has 7 offices stretching from Austin to Kansas City. He has presented his programs to groups such as the Inc. 5000 Masters Class and Young Presidents Organization Global Forum. He is also a regular that appears on podcasts and other media. Inc. magazine published his first book, and I love this name, this is fantastic, The Art of Preventing Stupid, in 2019. And the soon-to-be-released follow-up, Strong Protected Business, that's slated for publication just this year. Matt and his wife, Allison, have 5 kids, 3 that are biological, 1 adopted from Russia, and the youngest adopted from Ethiopia. Wow, he's got a generous heart as well. And he's also an accomplished guitarist, and his rock band, the Geriatric Steel, is about to hit the recording studio to record their first album of original hard rock songs for the middle age and beyond, with titles like Get Off My Lawn and Been There, Done That. Oh my goodness, this is probably the best bio I've ever heard. Well, Matt, I'm so glad to have you on Profit with a Plan podcast.
Thanks. I am thrilled to be here. And we're excited about the little rock band. So
I love it. I love it. So how many guys in your band?
3, just 3 of us.
3. And are you the front?
I am. And I didn't really want to be the singer, and I ended up being the singer. Look, I got a really cool guitar here. Look at that. There's a
Shredder.
Gibson V right there. So excited about that. That's my office guitar. That's got a couple of those.
That's what you play when you're trying to calm down, right? You play a little.
Yeah. Having a guitar and an amp has kept me from killing some people on occasion. So
the art of preventing stupid, right? That's it right there. Wowzer. Oh my gosh, this is going to be such a fun interview. I'm so excited to have you on the show. I would ask the normal question, hey, how'd you get into law and why is that important? But I think your personality is so much better. How in the world did you learn? What was the trigger to get you into a rock band playing guitar?
Oh, well, I was a kid, as we all were. That's amazing how that happens, right? I was a kid, and I just picked up. I was in orchestra, and then I had to get out of orchestra to stay in the advanced placement classes in high school. Not that I was studying in high school, and so I picked up the guitar, and it came just natural to me. And we played in rock bands then, and hard rock bands back in the day. I had hair longer than yours.
I was just gonna say, did you have the mullet or did you have?
No, I just had the hair. Yeah, I had the hair. And then I played in indie bands in college, and then I was a guitar player in a black church for 7 years, which was a lot of fun. And
Wow.
and then we were some buddies and I were messing around, and we played at one of our farm retreats. And then my son goes, "Hey, why don't you start writing hard rock songs for middle age and beyond?" And I'm like, "That's the best idea I've ever heard, because there's so much more to talk about and be frustrated about, and life experiences and
And laugh
aspirations."
about. I love it.
Yeah.
I love
So
it.
we're we've got Teenage Daughter, and which is a song that just kind of writes itself. And gosh, I mean, what else do anyway? One about I'm going to come trash your house you know when you
I
grow
love
up.
it.
It's life, it's just about
It's
life. So
fun. I can't wait to say I knew you when, and now you're famous as, Eddie Van Halen. You're going to go on the road and play your jam. I can't wait to hear it.
well,
That's
thanks.
going to
Yeah,
be great.
that's my wife says, "You're serious, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm completely serious." It's my
She could be
third or
your first
fourth.
groupie. She could
Yeah,
be your
well,
first
yeah,
groupie.
yeah. She tolerates me. She's not as amused with me as we've been
It's,
married 27 years tomorrow, and she,
oh, congratulations.
yeah,
That's
thanks.
awesome. That's great. There's a whole nother story there as how you survive marriage, right?
Yeah,
I failed at that myself, but it's how it goes. It's how it goes. All right, so let's talk here a little bit about business and scaling your business, because you've done a lot. I mean, your message said that in 7 years you went 1,000% growth. You have a fantastic culture in your company, and it's seven locations. How did you come around doing that? And what do today's business owners need to do for their business to kind of have that feeling of success?
well, now let's be clear, and let's narrow down, okay? And I know this is near and dear to your heart, which is the professional service firms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So doctors, lawyers, as we say out here in Oklahoma, Indian chiefs, and that's actually an old song from the 1940s. I was listening to the 40 station on Sirius XM or whatever it's called, and there was a song called that, but um, it's really common with dentists anymore, architects, engineers, and so on. Oddly enough, we have a client that is a professional services firm, and they're archaeologists, right?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Digging up bones.
go fish on that. But the thing is, whenever there's a project with any federal money involved, they have to have an archaeologist go do a study, and I learned an enormous amount about archaeology working with these people. Okay,
It's not
so
just Jurassic Park, right? That's
yeah,
interesting.
that's right. And although it was fascinating, love that guy. We'd just sit and talk for hours. He was horrible for my business because I couldn't charge him for the time we were talking about finding this site or that site. Okay, so professional service firms, and yes, it all that you hit the key denominator. It's about culture. It's about building a culture where people want to work. And you have to be a grown up. You have to have the compensation package that works for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, it's that simple. And that generally means let's be a grown up business, meaning let's have the 401k, let's have health insurance, let's have all those offerings that employees expect. But beyond that, it's a battle for talent.
Mm-hmm. Sure
And
is.
and it's a battle of being a place that you can serve them. Our first core value of our law firm is believe and protect their dreams.
That's
Okay,
great.
well, it's even better than you think, and I'm not trying to be smart about it, but um, if you look at it this way, let's look at that internally. The versus from a strategic perspective. Let's look at it internally. Richard Branson teaches if you take care of your employees, they'll take care of your customers, right?
Yeah.
And so we run scaling up, which is traction or scaling up, or entrepreneurs operating. So there's several different varieties, flavors of that. We run scaling up, and I looked at all their forms, and they have all their strategy forms, and I'm like, I finally realized, okay, great, we can have all this brilliant external strategy that differentiates us, which we have a lot of, but how do we treat our employees differently? And the real question is, this is what I ask, by the way, when we're recruiting somebody, is, can I believe and protect their dreams? What are their dreams? What do they want? What do they want their career to look like? What do they want their work life balance to look like? And that's absolutely critical. And when you can get that right with your professionals, and then also get that, because I wrote our strategy of internal, how do we believe and protect our attorney's dreams, right? And then staff, and part of the staff dream is just not working with jerk attorneys, right? So we just don't hire any jerk attorneys, and there's plenty of jerk attorneys out there, right? Yeah. So we hire very down to earth, sensible, unpretentious attorneys. We just don't tolerate anybody else,
Good.
And
so it
okay.
it sounds like you're building out something of a business of choice, right? Or an employer of choice, right? Where you're building a place that someone wants to work at because they feel like they have created, or they're part of something, right? And that their dreams and values are important to you as it is to them. So I like that.
It's absolutely true, because if it's like, we hired Dixie, and she was working for one of the big Oklahoma City firms, and her billing quota was 9.5 hours a day, which means she's working 12, right?
Or more.
Yeah. And I'm like, Dixie, we can take that down to 6. I can match the salary. And she's increased in salary since then. And she's like, seriously? I'm like, yeah, because we run like a business. Most law firms are run like run like a fraternity, with about as much sense as a fraternity, and not all, but a lot of them. And so, the idea is, look, I can believe and protect your dreams better than they can. Of course, now she's happy. She's more relaxed. She's gone off, had 2 little babies, right? And,
and works harder. It probably more effective and efficient in her time, because she's getting that balance and fulfillment that she wanted, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
And I'm almost positive that your clients are feeling that as well, rather than looking at their watch going, can you hurry up on that answer? I know you're charging me by every 3-minute increment, so let's keep going here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You nailed it. Now, in contrast, we hired an attorney, thought it was going to work out, and he started January 1st, and he called me 2 days ago. It's 2 months into the year, right? And he said, well, I had my friend called me, wants me to come work for his medical malpractice firm. And I'm like, well, what do you want to do? And he said, well,
I don't want you if you don't want to be here.
Yeah, that's exactly what.
The door's swinging.
Yeah, he said, well, I think maybe I ought to take it. I said, I think you should. I said, I'll call you tomorrow, tell you when your last day is. We're not going to discuss this any further. And, then he calls my COO later that evening and is trying to take it back. And we're like, no, don't let the door hit you in the behind, buddy.
No.
And he's gone. No. We had him gone by noon yesterday, because we're like, look, if you're not a cultural fit for us, hit the road.
Because that could be incredibly toxic if he's not fully there, fully present, engaged, and doing the work to the best of his ability. Then you don't have the employee that you want. And if he's thinking, oh, wish-wash, I should go, maybe I shouldn't go, I should go, maybe I shouldn't go, go. We don't want you. I think that's the strongest move you could have made. So I agree 100%.
And, there's a couple corollaries
on it.
or whatever you would call, I don't know who said this, but it's true. The gift you can give to A players on your team is to not tolerate B and C players,
Yep.
right? You just get rid of them. And
Yep.
spend time hiring up front. But exactly.
Sure.
Also down the line of what you're talking about, I love this little bit. Are you acquainted with Henry Cloud's work?
Mm.
He's I think he's a Christian author, but he's the guy that did the concept of boundaries. He's kind of the guy, if that was one word, that would be his word. And he has another thing he talks about people who are should heads. Right? Okay. Yeah. Obviously a play on word, which is kind of funny, given,
I love it.
his background. But he talks about these people that are just go through life going, well, I don't know if I should really put my heart in this. I don't know if I really should do this. And they never commit. They never make the decision to sit down and be great where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk about that in our firm. I have a print of a Jan Vermeer painting downstairs. I don't know if you know anything about Jan Vermeer, but I tell our staff when they come in here, I say, look, do you know who that is? And they go, no, I have no idea. I said, that's a Jan Vermeer painting. They go, it's fantastic. I said, yeah, it's fantastic. Jan Vermeer never left his hometown. Be great where you are, right?
Yeah.
Commit, be great. And they go, oh, this guy's a little crazy, but we like him. Or if they don't say that, we get rid of him. So I'm sorry, I don't feel like we get rid of everybody, but.
No, but you know what? I think that's really important for the success of the company. You mentioned the A and B players. You mentioned, that Richard Branson says that, if you take care of your client, your employees, they'll take care of your customers, which is the ultimate goal of any business, is to have more customers, get the register ringing, however that is, but do it from a space that you feel good about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can only do that when your team is on board and your team feels the same way, genuinely feels the same way about the mission of your company. And that's a common problem in professional service space, right? Because we're thinking, first of all, labor is such a challenge right now of finding talent that can do the job and are able to do it within everybody's parameters, right? The income, the location, the on-site, off-site, the on-country, off-country, wherever it is,
Mm-hmm.
and still get that done. So that's what I hear in my circles, is the ability to find talent. But when you do, and you're able to nurture that in a way, like you're saying, you get such better results that impact exponentially down the road to your customers, to your community, to your family and friends, and so on. So I think it's the perfect recipe.
Yeah, and you have to be willing. I say this is maybe a sexist way of saying it, but you have to be willing to show some leg and show some personality, and be comfortable with who you are, and just tell the rest of the world to kiss off.
Yeah, own your space.
What I'm getting to is, our culture is on one hand casual. I mean, we're hardcore professionals, and everybody that fights with us knows we'll duke it out. But I was jazzing with one of the Wichita firms the other day, or talking to him, and I was calling these two guys the Wonder Twins, and they're kind of a prissy firm, and they were not impressed with me. And I'm just like, come on, boys, get over yourselves. But where we start is we use a book called Hiring for Attitude. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Fantastic book. And it talks about when you run your ads, make it real clear, write them from almost a narrative point, and be descriptive about who you are. And I mean, most law firm ads will read like, hey, would you like to wear a gray suit and be a douchebag to humanity? That's what they sound like. A prestigious law firm, blah, blah, blah. And ours starts, hey, would you actually like to help people and work with people that you love and have a normal work-life balance? But if you're an Eeyore, don't bother applying,
Right.
and at that point, I either have them or I don't.
That's right. That's fantastic. And so incredibly unusual for the law firms that I know, and I'm in many circles of legal folks through provisors, and I see their personalities, but I also see that their business, doesn't necessarily reflect their personalities, and I think that that hurts them in the long run. So I love it that you're embracing this and embodying it, and it is a core function of how you work and how you live, and use that culture in that. So let's talk about those other companies out there, not necessarily the law firms, but we're talking about scaling up, right? And I know that the challenge always comes in with the first mindset that, we're a highly technical professional organization. We do something that we learned in school, figured out, have credentials for, and we do it, right? And that's really hard to scale when you're swinging the hammer every day. How do you help this type of business to think like a business, right? And bring on other people to do the work for you so that you could maybe sell it someday, right?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Well, you asked me the question directly, so I will tell you. First thing I do is I hand them a copy of Michael Gerber's E-Myth Revisited.
Love it.
And I say, let's understand the distinction between, I did this with a plumber the other day. Okay. Maybe that's not as high up the
It's
education
still a
scale.
service.
It's the same thing.
It
And,
is.
his name's Dakota. And I said, Dakota, he asked me, how do I do this? I said, let's start here and then come see me. Read this book and come see me. Okay. And, you have to understand the difference between the technical work, the managerial work, and the entrepreneurial work. And, I went from being just a solo practice attorney, just me, frankly, working out of my house, which was great. I have 5 kids. It was fun. And they really didn't bother me much. I read that book and I said, oh, okay, I start to get this. And guess what? It's hard work figuring out how to, become the manager. And, the manager is the minder, right? I like another way of saying that is the entrepreneur is the finder, the manager is the minder, and the technician is the grinder, right? And
Perfect.
and so, you have to step out of the technical work and step up into the managerial work. And that's minding all that and making sure minding the technical work, making sure it's getting done. And when you have that, understand that distinction, you can start to push yourself in ways, and then the entrepreneurial work is how do you get the business, right? And how do you find those opportunities? And, that's mostly what I do these days. I do a lot of speaking and podcasts, get to do this. This is fun, but I do some management. I still do a little technical work. And
I think, hang on a second, I think that's the mindset that if you step out of the technical, that doesn't mean you can't go and cherry pick a client that you want to work with to keep your knife sharp, right? You can cross borders with it, but your intentional focus needs to be, or maybe you need to bring other experts in to do the managerial, be part of the entrepreneurial guideline. There's no cut and dry saying that you'll never be able to practice a case ever again.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I got lucky in this regard. One of my friends was retiring from the Air Force, and I've known him forever. I don't even know where I know him from. And, but he was the number 10 JAG officer, so the number 10 attorney in the U.S. Air Force.
Wow.
And he's retiring as a bird colonel. And I'm like, what are you going to do? He says, well, I don't know. I said, well, why don't you come back to Oklahoma and you can hang out at the ranch with your dad on the weekends and help me run the law firm? And he's like, yeah, well, okay. That, there he does most of the management of the firm. got me out of that. And by the way, my friend who runs basically my same law firm I run, but runs it from Wall Street, he's like, where did you find that guy? And so we're trying to help him. We're literally helping him recruit his COO. But
Love it.
yeah, I mean, I can wander around and I hop into these cases with my attorneys. It's kind of a team bonding experience. So, I'm doing a case in Wichita with John, and Jason and I were just working on a couple deals in Fort Worth. And Mike and I were doing a deal down in Austin the other day. So I just kind of stick my nose in and help them out. And, it's fun for me because I do like the law, but
Sure.
I also like being the entrepreneur and all that.
I love it. I love it. So it's taking those three classifications and figuring out what you want to do most of, and then sprinkling in on the other ones, and then hiring places that maybe you didn't want to do, because a lot of people don't like managing people and managing the team. So then you bring in your bird colonel, right? And he takes over the running of it, like the ship it needs to be, or the aircraft it needs to be. But he's doing the stuff that needs to be done. And there are certain skill sets and mindsets that are really good in that space. And not everybody is. And recognizing that is a real talent for the owner of the company to be able to see and act upon. I know that we all stress because, we're wearing too many hats at the same time and trying to be all things to all people. And I think for companies to truly grow, right, you have to have the client base to grow. Then you have to build out the structure to handle the clients that are coming in. That's called scaling, right? Which is what you're describing, putting the people and processes in the right place, right?
Right.
It
And,
sounds
and,
so simple.
well, it,
So simple.
here's a skill set that people do really poorly with that when they're trying to do that. And this is a skill set you got to learn.
Okay.
There's a difference between delegation and abdication. Okay. No, absolutely. I mean, you're laughing at me, but not you're laughing knowingly at
I'm agreeing. Yes.
and abdication is, hey, go handle this. And delegation in the roughest form is, okay, here's the number I want you to achieve,
Mm-hmm.
right? And here's the KPI and key performance indicator. You know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the feedback loop of how we're going to do it. So, for instance, we do some digital marketing, right? And with reviews, I said to Katrina, you are responsible for reviews. We're very big on you are responsible for. Okay.
Own that spot. Yep. Love it.
Yeah. Own it. And don't have more than one person own it, because if everybody thinks somebody else is doing it, then nobody's doing it. Right. Okay.
Yes.
It's true. And I'm like, here's what I expect. Here's the tracker. Here's where we are with this number of reviews. Go figure out how we get the rest of them. I don't care how you do it within the bounds of the law and ethics. Go do it. And by the way, people love just getting a number to go beat and go do it.
Yeah.
And it's empowering to them. And those are the people you want working for you. Those are the A players, right?
Yeah.
And then
I love that.
We're going to look at this every month, Same thing with our finance people. Here's what I want the collection rate to be within 30 days of, so if here's what we build in February, I want 95% or more of that collected by, 1st of April, 30 days after the end of the month. And they're like, okay, we got it. We'll go do it. See you later. Check back in a month. That's delegation versus, hey, go have fun, kids.
No. And see, that's a huge situation that you said is a learned skill. And many business owners haven't figured that one out yet, right? Either they micromanage the job so that the employee cannot develop their own skill set to be able to think for themselves, or they go the polar opposite and say, go do it. and then they've set no expectations, no ground rules, no rules that should be followed to get them the success. But I think there's, like you said, there's that happy medium of going, I want you to figure it out, right? This is the best team member you have that can figure things out.
Mhm.
I want you to do it in these parameters and then come back and tell me about it. That was perfect.
Yeah, well, and actually, I'm going to take it one step further. Build the feedback loop. We're going to look at this every month, or we're going to look at this every week, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Build the feedback loop. Show me the number, because another really important thing. It's dovetails right into what you were talking about, and Daniel Pink teaches about this in Drive. The things in the new economy that people love, and this is what employers need to get. They want autonomy in their work. They want to be able to go figure it out for themselves, and they want the opportunity to master something, because those A players, they get a thrill out of figuring it out and just becoming ninjas at what they're doing.
Right.
And
And then getting the kudos at the end, whether that's a pay or a attaboy or Johnny did this or whatever it is. And that's the mind shift that, today's employment space, environment is missing, right? That the workforce today that wants to work from home or work from a different location, or the things that they want to do, that's a really important part of it, is giving them the tools and the ability to succeed on their own.
yeah, and my right hand lawyer that works for well, not so much for me anymore. Naturally lives in Portland, Oregon, right? And I live in West Oklahoma, but she just, it's like, Ash, and somebody, our CFO, first time, the one we had before, Tricia, or anyway, sorry, teasing you. And she asked me once, she says, what does Ashley do? You pay her a lot of money. And I said, yeah, I don't know. I just send her emails that say, handle this crap, right? Now, which sounds like abdication, right? But I know we talk all the time, so it wasn't really. But, she's just going to take it and she's going to crush it, right? And I think that's why she loves. I'm going to have to ask her now, why do you love working for us? But she just gets to grow, and, she just renegotiated an 85-year-old deal between one of our clients and one of the big oil companies. I mean, and 100-page contract. And, they're just like, she's a killer. I'm like, oh, yeah, she is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, funny, if you do ask her why she stays and works for you, there's your ad for hiring the guy that you just let go, right? This is your next employment ad, because that's what everybody's looking for, is that kind of, at least that's what the people you want to duplicate, right?
Yeah, some of them, I don't know what was wrong with that kid, but
missed opportunity for him.
Oh, he's going to be hungry in a few months, and he's hopefully not smart enough to call me back. So
That's funny. That's funny. Matt, this has been a fantastic conversation about growing your company, in particular professional service organizations, which, so many are there in so many different shapes, flavors, forms, variations, that any business owner that's not maybe even a manufacturing firm is going to understand how this can help them scale and grow and create an environment that is attractive to their ideal employee, and therefore their clients and the environment. And, it's perfect.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, we've been blessed, and I've got a lot of smart people working for us, because I don't know, I seem to attract them. So very good.
Wow. And you're a little standoffish, so I can see why you're attractive to them. You're not friendly and open, and so. Just kidding.
Yeah.
So anyways, Matt, where can listeners find out more about you and your organization? I know you're just you're not selling anything, you're just talking about culture and stuff, but Where can listeners find out more about you?
Go over, our website's davisbusinesslaw.com. And by the way, there's a really cool thing. I was just speaking about this Monday, 2 days ago. Over in our resources tab, there's a strong protected business checklist that's really handy for a lot of businesses because we broke it down by the size of the business and we reverse engineered a big list of things that get our clients in trouble. So if you want a checklist of how to not come to your attorney with problems, but what we like working with clients with opportunities. How about that? Everybody's like, why do you guys give away so much free information? I'm like, because we'd rather work with people on their opportunities because they're a lot more fun to work with. My attorneys are a lot happier, and they use us again because they're like, oh, wow, they helped us make money rather than just getting us out of a scrape. So anyway, davisbusinesslaw.com is the website. Resources tab.
Love it. Love it. And that makes sense. If you get them out of trouble, they shouldn't often be in trouble, but there's always opportunities coming. So that's a reoccurring business model in my mind. So I love that you're looking at the positive side for it. So awesome. Hey, listeners, gosh, I hope you found a couple of ideas that can help you grow your business and be more profitable in your business. I know I did. Matt is just a wealth of information and experience that I think is fresh, right? And he's not the old stuffy attorney. He brings in some light and joy about situations that we all need to face as growing organizations. So go download his resources. Make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed so you can look for the opportunities. Love it. And while you're at it, if you're interested in doing a 45% boost to your net profit in just 30 days, I'm the gal. Don't think it's possible? Check out my new training called the 30-Day Profit Booster. This is a quick and easy profit boosting strategy that can be done without spending more on marketing, hiring additional staff, or working longer hours. Go check it out at 30dayprofitbooster.com. And Matt and I would love to hear your feedback. Tell us what you thought of the podcast. It was fun for me. It was just a joy. But, if you got any ideas on how to grow and scale your professional service firm or even your non-professional service firm, hit us up in the comments and Matt and I will reply back and answer and share ideas with you. But just engage with us in the comments. And while you're at it, subscribe. You don't want to miss next week's show. So you can catch Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. We're looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thanks so much, Matt. This was a pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah, that was fun. Thanks.